Easily one of the top few secondary weapons, Laetum has plenty things to offer. Even without Incarnon form, weapon is a very strong handgun, but after a few headshots it turns into an automatic grenade launcher. With this one I was again curious how flexible it is to build it, and it turns out both critical and non-critical builds are viable, which definitely adds value to it considering it's a sidearm and it's important for it to fit in your build no matter what it is. Also improving experience in squads, since few things people bring in missions can increase critical chance for everyone, which kinda ruins the non-critical build and cuts it in half if not more. First off, we're gonna focus on non-critical build. This is done to make use of devouring attrition's 50% chance to add 2000% multiplicative damage to non-critical hits. With it, 4th evolution is used to reduce weapons' critical chance further. And build looks like this. Virulent Heat, Multi-Shot with Galvanized Diffusion and Lethal Torrent. And for damage mods, we've got Hornet Strike because automatic fire has a big portion of its damage as AoE, so that makes Savvy less optimal for this. Slow projectile flight speed is rough. Even with lethal momentum, you have to lead targets by quite a lot. Remaining two mods are Fire Rate and Fulmination for some range. Primary fire mode has some kick to it, and secondary Deadhead alongside 2nd evolution's Marksman's Hand level that out. Adding more fire rate with Rapid Wrath instead is viable. It's just not much over what we're already adding, and no recoil is really convenient to tap that semi-auto fire mode faster. You could put in the recoil mod in Exile slot if you don't mind slow projectiles. And this is awesome if you make sure you don't have Arcane Avenger or any CAD that can cause more criticals. With so much multi-shot, it's in every shot that at least one projectile triggers that 2000% multiplicative bonus, which sends the damage sky high. So it is pretty consistent. Added fire rate feels great for Incarnon form because you have 216 shots in your magazine. For critical build, this only looks a tad different, and it's thanks to Overwhelming Attrition's 3 stacks of 400% additive damage that we can ditch Hornet Strike from this build. One other mod that has to go is Fire Rate, so we can fit both critical chance and critical damage. Also changing 4th evolution to bring back criticals and add extra 50% headshot damage. And that's it, weapon is converted to criticals. Less fire rate is something that's obviously noticeable, but damage is there. Despite Overwhelming Attrition being triggered when you have a hit that does not crit and does not apply any status effects, those stacks of damage, while active, are applied to all hits with this weapon, critical or non-critical. Here I've stuck with Prime Pistol Gambit for this weapon, but probably the ultimate form of Laetum's critical build is using some frame that can reliably manage its shields and get over shields to manage Cascadia Overcharge, all while replacing Prime Pistol Gambit with Galvanized Crosshairs to push criticals into viable orange crits. Loss of secondary Deadhead is not huge because 5th evolution is already adding 1200% additive damage. Because there's an issue with Overwhelming Attrition that if you are always in between yellow and orange crits, you will never trigger it, but because both Cascadia Overcharge and Galvanized Crosshairs are conditional and 100% in your control, you can manage a critical chance from base 22% to grand total being about 150%. Despite sounding like it's a lot of management, it isn't. You can be loose with it, but at the same time, you can make sure to hit most orange crits when it matters the most, by charging your overshields and aiming down sight. Only thing that's noticeable with the removal of secondary Deadhead is that semi-auto mode now has some kick, but that's about it. While I use all 3 builds depending on the occasion, to me it's the last build that is the most fun I had with Laetum. Leveling up your crits to oranges is truly devastating. This weapon is nutty, and its only drawback is projectile flight speed, which forces you to play close, but Incarnon mode does the self-stagger, so it can be awkward when you're too close, but you'll learn to manage it, or just slap status immunity of prime sure-footed in there. I think weapon is 100% viable with both critical and non-critical builds. Thank you for watching, subscribe to help the channel grow, and I'll see you in the next one.